Does that look like halfway? I think we're halfway. I don't want to read the last sentence on accident. I'm just looking at the page number. Oh god, it's scary. I can't look. Never mind. I can't. This looks about halfway. I think we're halfway through the book. Oh my god. Hello, Skills. So, as we all know, they have settled on Mars. The first 100 were there first, and then blah, 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 a lot of stuff they did, and they made Mars safe for everybody else. They definitely didn't commit ecological atrocities. And now there's a bunch of people living on Mars. That's where we last left off. That like it's past the point of the first 100. There are thousands of people on Mars now in many cities. It's still really early though. Like these are like the first few like civilizations or cities on Mars. They're just like mining communities. It's like West Virginia, you know, but like on Mars. And like all over the place, there's like a Japanese settlement, and like, you know, they're starting to like have all their separate projects going on. A lot of mining though, and without the incest, as far as we know, I guess. Currently, John is living in a Japanese town, or he's not living there, he's visiting. I meant like he was like staying the night. John Boone, first man on Mars, he was part of the first 100 as well. So he's a pretty famous guy. And part 5 is narrated by John, and it's wonderful because he has no idea that he's going to get murdered in like 15 years. John dies at the beginning of the book. In part 1, John dies. Anyways, and then part 5 is narrated by John, and he's like walking around like all these new Martian areas, and he's like visiting people and being John, inspecting things, I guess. I don't know. And like fucking like trucks are like driving off of cliffs and falling right behind him. And like, okay, literally last week, he was visiting some Japanese mine manager. He's like down at the bottom of a big hole. Like a big hole, like huge, like kilometers wide. He's down at the bottom of the hole, and then like a fucking bomb goes off, and a truck gets blasted off of the walls of the pit. And it like flies into the center of the pit, and it almost kills John and his Japanese friend. And then we find out that there's like terrorists on Mars. That's how we find out, guys. There's like these activists called the Reds are mentioned once. And there's all these cults. There's a bunch of cults on Mars. And I mean, they're like ideological parties, you know. So John has been tasked by a group of rats in a lab coat known as Russ. Sassafrage Russell. He has been tasked to find out, like, who these terrorists are and why they're doing it. And John was all like, well, listen, Saxifrage Russell, listen. A lot of people think that you're destroying Mars. And a lot of people hate you. But I'm gonna find out who. Even though it could be anybody. And so yeah, now we're with Detective John, and everything's in black and white. and he's staying in a Japanese Martian city overnight. And this is where the truck almost fell on him. And it definitely wasn't an assassination attempt. It's sabotage. Somebody's sabotaging Mars and progress. It's probably Anne. I told you guys she was gonna blow some shit up. You are now up to speed. Oh, and I guess I could mention there's been like some time since the first 100 have landed. I thought that was obvious, but so now they're all scattered to the wind and doing their different Martian projects. That was probably the worst summary yet, but I tried. What kind of book do you like? I do not have time for that question. I'm sorry. I like these kinds of books. Sometimes shorter is better. That was the short summary. I really don't like this flavor. It's like not satisfying to smoke at all. Are we ready then? All right, we're doing it. Fine. Sorry for procrastinating. John. Still, despite all that, there was something to be said for this new task. He could feel that already. It would be problematic, difficult, perhaps risky. Above all, challenging. A new challenge. He liked that. Going back to his suite, getting into bed. John Boone slept here. It occurred to him that now he was going to be not only the first man on Mars, but the first detective. He grinned at the thought. And the last action of the Omegendorf set his nerves aglow. Thank you, Scotty Fox, for 333 bits. Oh yeah, and they have a drug called an Omegendorf. I want some. Anne Claiborne was doing a survey in the mountains surrounding the Argier Basin, which meant he could check out a glider and fly from Senzini-na to her. So early the next morning, he took the elevator balloon up the mooring mast to the stationary dirigible floating over the town. I cannot believe I read that without stuttering. Can I get some claps in the chat? Damn. I don't know what I just read, but I did it perfectly. Early the next morning, he took the elevator balloon. Okay, so he's in a building, I assume, and there's an elevator balloon. I guess they use the gas, to rise, right, as we all know, like a lighter gas. Okay, so he takes the elevator balloon. Why did they describe it as elevator balloon? That's beautiful. Up the mooring mast. What is the mooring mast? Is there Probably for the habitat, I guess. Anyways, a load-bearing wall. I don't know. Up the mooring mast. No, wait. The mooring mast would moor the dirigible. Oh, okay, I get it. Okay, so he may be on ground. He may be in... he's taking an elevator balloon up to a dirigible. Got it. All right. Which is like a blimp. We don't really call them dirigibles. We would call it a blimp. So he takes an elevator balloon up to the blimp. Yes, a tower for mooring airships. I figured it out. Now I feel stupid for asking what a mooring is. God damn it. It's for boats. So in the morning, he took the elevator balloon up the mooring mast to the stationary dirigible floating over the town. Exulting as he rose in the ever-expanding view of the big Thumasha canyons. From the dirigible, he lowered himself into the cockpit of one of the gliders hooked to its underside. Damn, that's cool. After securing himself, he unhooked, and the glider dropped like a stone until he ran it into the Mohole thermal, which tossed it violently upward. He fought for control and banked the big gossamer craft into a steep rising gyre, whooping as he battled the intense buffeting. It was like riding a soap bubble over a bonfire. At 5,000 meters, the plume cloud flattened and spread out to the east. John swooped out of his spiral and headed southeast, playing with the glider as he went to get a feel for it. He would have to ride the winds carefully to make it to Argier. He aimed into the sun's smeary yellow blaze. Wind keened over the wings. The land below him was a dark, rough orange, shading to a very light orange at the horizon. The southern highlands were wildly pocked in every direction, with the raw, primordial, lunar look that saturation cratering always had. John loved flying over it, and he piloted unconsciously, concentrating on the land below. It was precious to sit back and fly, feeling the wind as if under his elbows, watching the land and not thinking a thing. He was 64 years old in this year 2047. Holy shit, he's gonna die soon. No. I thought it was like 10 years away. I'm like, oh, no, wait, he could... Okay, wait, I don't know. We don't know. I'm gonna stop... Okay, oh my god, no. He aimed into the sun's smeary yellow blaze. He loved flying over the cratered land. He piloted unconsciously, concentrating on the land below. It was precious to sit back and fly, feeling the wind as if under his elbows, watching the land and not thinking a thing. He was 64 years old in this year, 2047, or M year 10, as he usually thought of it. And he had been the most famous man alive for almost 30 of those years. And nowadays, he was happiest when he was alone and flying. After an hour had passed, he started thinking about his new task. It was important not to get caught up in fantasies of magnifying glasses and cigar ash, or gumshoe with handgun. There was work he could do even as he flew. He called up Sachs and asked if he could connect his AI into the Unoma Emigration and Planetary Travel Records, without alerting Unoma to the connection. After some investigation, Sachs got back to him and said that he could manage that. And so John sent a sequence of questions through and then continued to fly. An hour and many craters later, Pauline's red light blinked rapidly, indicating a downloading of raw data. Oh God, the AI's name is Pauline. Or maybe that's the name of the glider. No, it's the name of the AI. It's Pauline. An hour and many craters later, Pauline's red light blinked rapidly, indicating a downloading of raw data. John asked the AI to run the data through various analyses. And when she was done, he studied the results on the screen. Patterns of movement. They were confusing, but he hoped that when matched with the sabotage incidents, something might turn up. Of course, there were people moving around off the record, the hidden colony among them. The hidden colony among them. And who knew what Hiroko and the others thought of the terraforming projects? Wait, the hidden... Of course there were people moving around off the record, the hidden colony among them. And who knew what Hiroko and the others thought of the terraforming projects? Still, it was worth a look. Yes, it is. Good to see you, Carbonated Diarrhea. The Neridium Montes popped over the horizon ahead. Mars had never had much tectonic movement, and so mountain ranges were rare. Those that existed tended to be crater rims writ large. Rings of ejecta thrown out by impact so great that the debris fell in 2 or 3 concentric ranges, each many kilometers wide and extremely rugged. Hellas and Argyre, being the biggest basins, therefore had the biggest ranges. And the only other major mountain range, the Phlegra Montes on the slope of Elysium, was probably the fragmentary remains of a basin impact later inundated by the Elysium volcanoes, or an ancient Oceanus Borealis, or by an ancient Oceanus Borealis. Debate ranged over that question, and Anne, John's final authority in such matters, had never expressed an opinion on it. The Neridium Montes made up the northern rim around Argyre. But currently, Anne and her team were investigating the southern rim, the Cheridum Montes. Boone adjusted his course southward, and in the early afternoon he soared low over the broad, flat plain of the Argyre Basin. After the wild cratering of the highlands, the basin floor seemed smooth indeed. A flat, yellowish plain bounded by the big curve of rim ridges. From his vantage, he could see about 90 degrees of the arc of the rim. Enough to give him a sense of the size of the impact that had formed Argier. It was an amazing sight. Flying over thousands of Martian craters had given Boone a sense of the sizes they came in, and Argier was simply off the scale. A quite big crater named Gala was no more than a pockmark in Argier's rim. A whole world must have crashed here. Or at the very least, a damn big asteroid. Inside the southeast curve of the rim, on the basin floor against the foothills of the Cheredum, he spotted the thin white line of a landing strip. Easy to spot human easy to spot human constructs in such desolation. Their regularity stood out like a beacon. Thermals were rising hard off the sun-warmed hills, and he turned down into one, dropping with a vibratory hum, the craft's wings bouncing visibly as it stopped. Dropping like a rock, like that asteroid, John thought with a grin. And he pulled up for the landing with a dramatic last flourish, putting down with as much precision as he could muster, aware of his reputation of being aware of his reputation as a hot flyer, which of course had to be reinforced at every opportunity. Part of the job. But it turned out there were only 2 people in the trailers, by the strip, and neither of them had watched him land. They were inside watching TV news from Earth. They looked up when he came in the interlock door and jumped to their feet to greet him. Anne was up one of the mountain canyons with a team, they told him. Probably no more than 2 hours' drive away. John ate lunch with them. 2 Brit women with North accents. Very tough and charming. Then he took a rover and followed the tracks up a cleft into the Cheritum. How do they choose what is north and south on other planets? The poles? I don't know. Wait, that's a good question. I think Mars is still rotating on its axis. It just doesn't have an active it has a very weak magnetosphere. It's all about magnets, man. Our solar system has a plane based on Earth. Lovely, lovely to know. Wow, that was my second guess. All right, I gotta pee, and I'm gonna refill my drink so that I can pee some more. I'll be right back.